Hi, welcome back to Love Luxury YouTube channel. I'm Emily Abraham, and today we're going to be discussing how to authenticate your Hermes bag. And for that, we'll be using these two models as demonstrators on just that. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you so much for joining us today on our discussion of how to authenticate an Hermes bag. And for this demonstration, I'm going to be using a Kelly 25 and a Kelly 25, and one of these two is not real. I wonder if you can tell which one it is. Here at Love Luxury, we are professionals on how to spot fake bags and genuine bags. And obviously, we wouldn't have a business if we couldn't differentiate between the two. But for the general public, it can be quite a daunting task. And obviously, especially if you've never seen one before or owned one of your own before, the first time you do buy an Hermes bag, it can be a really scary task because you are spending so much money. So, the first thing that I would suggest is obviously always go to a reputable seller. So, whether you're buying directly from Hermes, obviously you would 100% know that their bags are genuine. But if you're buying from the secondary market, then coming to a company like Love Luxury, like ourselves here in Knightsbridge, you would be guaranteed that the bag that you're buying is genuine. And the way we can guarantee that is because we give third-party certificates of authentication with every single one of the bags that we purchase and sell on. And that's not for our peace of mind, that's for the client's peace of mind. So when you purchase from the secondary market, my first tip would be to ask if there is a certificate of authentication. So once you get your certificate of authentication, the next step is cross-referencing it. So you need to make sure that the code on the certificate of authentication matches the code inside your bag, which is called a blind stamp, and we'll go into that a little bit later. So the blind stamp tells you who the maker was and the year that it was made, so, and the factory as well. So it has the maker's mark, the factory code, and the year stamp on there. Years ago, Hermes used to go in alphabetical order with their stamping. So it would go A, B, C, D and correlate 1, 2, 3, 4. However, since the counterfeit market got to be so booming and they actually got so good at what they were doing, Hermes had to switch that up a bit. So now we don't know each year what the code is going to be until the first bags are released, which actually makes it a little bit more exciting. So in January and February every year, we're waiting to see what the letter is going to be. So last year, the letter was Z, and that was for 2021. And this year, the letter is U for 2022. So that just gives you an indication of what you would be looking for 2021 and 2022 bags. So if somebody tells you that a bag is fresh from the store, then you would expect in March 2022, for example, that you would be finding a bag with a Z or a U stamp on it. So that just gives you an indication, because even at the beginning of the year, there will still be some bags trickling through that have the last year's date code on them. So looking at date code stamps is actually an important part of the authentication process. Second of all is how the bag feels in your hand. Now, if you've never owned an Hermes bag before, then you're not going to have anything to compare it to, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But you should feel like you have a quality piece of leather in your hand and not a piece of leather that feels plasticky. And there is a big difference. The next tip that I have sounds a bit odd, and it looks a bit odd when we do it here at Love Luxury. When people bring us bags in, one of the first things that we do is smell the leather of the bag. So I will open the bag up, we will open the bag up, and we will sniff inside the bag. Now, if it's not a genuine leather article, it smells plasticky. If your bag doesn't smell like quality leather, then that's a very big sign that this is not a genuine bag. So smell is very, very important. Following on from smell, the next thing I look for is the feet of the bag. So I will turn the bag upside down and I will try and twist the feet off. Generally, if a bag is made from a counterfeit ring, they screw the feet on. That is not the common practice. It's not the practice at all for Hermes. Hermes hammer the feet in, and they are impossible to screw off. It is, you can't do it. So if a foot screws off, then 100% the bag is not genuine. However, saying that, the new counterfeit rings that have been making these fake bags have clocked onto this and are now hammering the feet in. So there are some fakes with hammered feet and not screw on feet. Hermes do use the same font for the hardware and then the same font for the print on the leather bag. So what you want to do is maybe have a look at Google at some genuine images of what the font should look like, and then take a look at the hardware font and then individually at the printed font, which is underneath the flap of the bag and just above the turn lock. So that can be quite telling. However, again, these counterfeit rings have got very close, but it's never perfect. Also, positioning of the font is really important. I'm just going to touch on the hardware. So the font on the hardware is lasered on, and the laser that Hermes uses is a continual laser. So the lines are lines, they're not dots. And what we find quite often is that these counterfeit rings that are making these fake bags are using a laser machine that uses a dotting technique. So although to the naked eye it looks like a line, when you look through a magnifying glass or a loupe, which is what we use here, Love Luxury, you can actually see the difference between the two. And on Hermes bags, it's very fine and very precise. There are no jagged edges. It's always level. The E will never be smaller than the H, and the M will never be larger than any of the other letters. So that's something to keep an eye out on. And I'm going to give you some close-ups of both of the bags that I've got behind me today so that you can see the difference between the two, and then perhaps make a judgment for yourselves whether you think the black bag is genuine or whether you think the tricolour bag is genuine. We really hope that you're enjoying this video so far. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like and comment. Let's move to the date stamp, or the blind stamp as it's known. The blind stamp should be 3 letters, 3 numbers, and then again 2 letters. So the 2 letters at the end will always be slightly smaller in size than all of the other numbers and letters, so than the other 6 digits. And the first letter at the beginning of the first 3 letters is the year stamp. So that tells you what year the bag was made. So look out for that. On older bags, the stamps are either in circles or squares, and it's very hard because they aren't in a specific order. So now we have a very good system from Hermes that tells us exactly what we need to be looking for. Whereas before, on the old bags, it was a little bit more difficult. So if you're buying an older bag on the secondary market, please do be very careful, because they are quite easy to fake the codes on the bags. The zip on a genuine bag should always run very smoothly. It should never be jilty across, and it shouldn't be wavy. So another tip to look for is that your zip is a smooth straight line and it doesn't wave, and that it moves smoothly across back and forth. Here at Love Luxury, we measure the bags that come in, because quite often the fake bags, the counterfeit bags that we see, are not exact measurements in relation to their genuine counterparts. However, again, this can vary very minutely because these Hermes bags are made by hand, so it's not an exact science. The shape and height of the Hermes handles is very specific to each bag. So again, this is something that you can check out on social media and or have a Google of and see what the handle drop of the bag should be exactly. So that stands for the strap that goes cross strap on the Kelly bags and also the top handles on both the Kelly and the Birkins. The grain of the leathers on non-genuine bags is completely different to the grain of genuine bags, and I'm going again to show you in some close-up shots of the difference between the two bags that we have, and they are very, very close, but one of the bags is not genuine and one of the bags is. Something that I've been noticing in the super fake bags is that the lining of the bag seems to be a lot thinner than the genuine Hermes bags, and the outer leather layer happens to be thicker than the genuine Hermes bags. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to make up for the thickness with the outside panel but not with the internal panel. And whereas Hermes, the two pieces of leather are very equally matched. So the inside of your bag should not feel flimsy. And if you pull your bag open, you shouldn't see ripples on the leather of your bag. That is a very big sign that the bag you're holding is either genuine or not. Also, the stitching on Hermes bags, don't forget, is hand stitched. So it's never perfect. Although it's very, very good and it's very close to machine stitching, it's not. And sometimes, and quite often, on every single bag we have come in, we will see that perhaps one or two stitches are slightly smaller. And I mean fractionally smaller. And this is again something you'd look at through a microscope, but fractionally smaller than the other stitches on the rest of the bag, or it might be just a little bit higher or lower. Again, these are hand stitched bags, so of course human error stands to reason that the stitches are not going to be perfect, and actually for me that brings part of the character of the Hermes bags. On a counterfeit bag, the stitching is perfect because it's done by machine. So every single stitch is uniform and every single stitch just looks like it's been made on a machine. So that again, with a magnifying glass, is something that you can look out for and compare to either genuine bags that you already own or to pictures of stitching on the internet. Last but not least, the very big telltale sign that I always look for after I've smelt the leather, had a look at the bag, checked the feet, run the zipper pulley, had a look at the date stamps and all of the other things. A very quick way to tell is to look at the H at the end of the zip. And you may think, what is she talking about? At the end of the zip, we have normally a little square that stops the zipper pulley from pulling off, right? On an Hermes bag, that square is actually an H. Now, it's a very fine and well proportioned H on a genuine bag, but on a fake bag, one side will be thicker than the other, the middle bit will be all wonky, and it will even be perhaps placed not dead square center on the end of the zip there. So that for me is one of the first things that I actually look for if you want to do a quick Hermes authentication. So that one really is a very good tip, because if the H at the end of the zip doesn't look like it's a perfect H, it's not a genuine bag. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that you found the video really informative and that the close-ups of both bags helped you decipher which one is genuine and which is not. And I'm going to reveal it now. The genuine bag is the tri-colour Kelly and the counterfeit bag is the black Kelly. And they are very, very close. This is a super fake. So thank you again for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like and comment.